Close your eyes. Feel your heartbeat. Now imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, knees trembling, palms sweating, every cell in your body screaming run. But what if I told you that exact same mountain, that terrifying wall of rock that makes your body freeze, is the same place where combat veterans reduce their PTSD by 30% in a single weekend? Where suicidal people step back from the edge, literally and metaphorically? Where your brain's rumination circuits just stop? You're not broken for being afraid. You're human. And in the next 12 minutes, I'm going to show you how the thing that scares you most might be exactly what saves you. Here's something that will mess with your head. For most of human history, mountains were considered ugly, hideous even. In 1657, not that long ago, English writers described mountains as warts, blisters, and tumors on the earth's face. Evidence of God's wrath. Things to be endured, not enjoyed. Swiss physician Johann Jakob Scheuchzer literally published a natural history guide documenting the hideous dragons with human faces that locals swore lived in the Alps. Mountains were demonic, revolting, the enemy of civilization. Then something bizarre happened. In barely 50 years, the same peaks went from being called blisters on creation to ecstatic, sacred. By 1800, poets like Wordsworth were climbing mountains to have visionary experiences. Scholars call this shift one of the most profound revolutions in human thought, and most people don't even know it happened. But here's the kicker. While we were busy romanticizing mountains, we also forgot something critical. Mountains aren't just beautiful backdrops for Instagram. They're medicine. Literal, peer-reviewed, clinical-grade medicine. 28% of adults experience visual height intolerance at some point in their lives. Acrophobia, the severe clinical form, affects roughly 1 in 20 people. It's the second most common specific phobia on Earth, right after fear of snakes. And your body isn't wrong to be afraid. Evolution wired your amygdala to scream danger when you peer over a ledge. That's not a bug. That's a feature. But what evolution didn't account for is what happens when you stay. What mountains do to your brain. Let me paint you a picture of what's happening inside your skull right now. There's a network in your brain called the default mode network, the DMN. Think of it as your brain's background app that never stops running. It's the voice that says, "What if I fail? What about tomorrow? Why did I say that thing 5 years ago?" It's the rumination engine. And in people with depression, anxiety, and chronic stress, this network is screaming. Now here's where it gets wild. When you stand in front of something vast, a mountain ridge, an alpine forest, a view that makes you feel small, something called awe kicks in. And awe does something almost magical. It shuts down the DMN. The constant mental chatter just quiets. Neuroscientist Dasher Keltner at UC Berkeley measured this. He had people take 15-minute awe walks once a week, phone away, slow pace, deliberately looking outward instead of inward. The results? Significant increases in compassion and gratitude, decreases in daily distress. And here's the beautiful part. The largest effect was in elderly adults. The people society tells us are too old for adventure. They benefited most. But it's not just psychological. Mountains change your body. Alpine forests, especially coniferous ones with pines and firs, are dense with something called phytoncides. These are volatile organic compounds the trees release. When you breathe them in during a 2-hour forest walk, your natural killer cell activity increases for up to 7 days. Your cortisol drops. Your blood pressure lowers. Your immune system gets a literal upgrade just from breathing mountain air. And then there's the inflammation piece. In 2015, researchers found that of all positive emotions tested, awe was the strongest predictor of low interleukin-6, a key inflammatory marker linked to depression, heart disease, and autoimmune illness. Mountains, simply by being large and overwhelming, cool your body's inflammation. Let that sink in. The same vertical rock face that makes your knees buckle is also quietly rewiring your nervous system for resilience. Now, let me tell you about the people who took the leap. Carly Bruneau lost her partner in a tragic accident following his struggle with addiction. For 5 years, she described living in a void, paralyzed by grief, so heavy she couldn't function. Then she started climbing the 48 peaks of New Hampshire's White Mountains. Not for fun, for survival. She said the physical pain of the ascent became fuel. She would curse the climb, her legs screaming, lungs burning, but at the summit, something happened. A brief, quiet peace that was unavailable anywhere else. She eventually hiked the entire Appalachian Trail, turning her trauma into purpose. Judy Gents and her husband started hiking the Appalachian Trail after retirement. She was carrying the weight of her oldest son, killed in Afghanistan in 2010. She described a never-ending roller coaster of emotions. But high in the mountains, reaching for the Katahdin sign, she broke down completely. And here's what she said: "The earth was absorbing my tears." The mountain became a psychological sponge. John McGowan hiked the Tahoe Rim Trail, carrying physical letters from thousands of strangers, people detailing their own traumas, their buried pain. At the summit, he burned every single letter, letting go, releasing. He credits Mother Nature with saving his life. And then there are the veterans. In a study following 180 military veterans and at-risk youth with PTSD, researchers sent them on a 1 to 2 day whitewater rafting trip. 1 week later, they reported a 30% reduction in PTSD symptoms and a 10% rise in well-being. Keltner's now famous line, "Time outdoors changes people's nervous systems." It is as effective as any PTSD intervention we have. Think about that. A weekend in the mountains matched or beat therapy methods that take months or years. But here's the paradox. The mountain doesn't need you to conquer it. You don't need to summit Everest. You don't need to be an elite athlete. You just need to be there. Walk slowly. Touch the rock. Take your shoes off. Let the sky be bigger than you. Because the healing isn't in the conquest. It's in the surrender. Here's the part no one talks about. What happens when you come back down? You've stood on a ridge. You've felt the mountain quiet your mind. You've breathed air so clean it felt like medicine. And then you drive home, walk into your apartment, open your laptop, and the noise floods back. That's the descent. The literal and metaphorical coming down. And it's where most people lose it. But research shows something beautiful. Even recalled awe lowers reactivity, meaning you can carry the mountain with you. Close your eyes in a stressful meeting and recall the feeling of standing on that ridge. Your nervous system remembers. Your body holds it. People who do this, who integrate the mountain into their daily lives, report sustained improvements in sleep quality, focus, and emotional regulation. It's not a one-time fix. It's a practice. And for people with severe acrophobia, the clinical, disabling fear of heights, the transformations are equally stunning. Virtual reality exposure therapy has a 90% cure rate in some trials. People who couldn't look out a second-story window are now hiking ridges. And the wildest part? Some programs take as little as 24 minutes of total VR exposure. 24 minutes. That's less time than an average YouTube video. And it can rewire a phobia that's ruled someone's life for decades. 5. The future of healing. So where is this all going? We're living through a mental health crisis. WHO data shows a 25% global rise in anxiety and depression since COVID. Therapy waitlists are months long. Antidepressants don't work for everyone. And the medical system is screaming for scalable, low side effect interventions. Mountain therapy is answering that call. Veteran programs like Huts for Vets, Warrior Expeditions, and Sierra Club Military Outdoors are being funded and studied by the VA. Expect more peer-reviewed evaluations. Expect insurance reimbursement. Expect your doctor to prescribe nature the way they prescribe medication. In Austria, this is already happening. Towns like Galtür and Bad Gastein are medically recognized climatic health resorts. The combination of pollution-shielded valleys, pollen-poor air, and moderate altitude is prescribed for respiratory and mental health, sometimes covered by insurance. We're heading toward a world where a primary care physician's prescription pad includes 30 minutes of moderate elevation, 3 times a week, in a forested setting. And the technology is catching up. VR mountain therapy is going mainstream. Apps like Xerophobia let you treat acrophobia from your living room. No therapist required. Awe is becoming a clinical target. Researchers are studying awe interventions for depression, end-of-life care, and healthcare worker burnout. But here's the deeper shift. Mountains are moving from glory back to function, not lessening them, naturalizing them, treating them as what they've always been, not conquests, but companions, not enemies, but medicine. The 18th century turned mountains from gloom into glory. The 21st century is turning them from glory into clinic. So here's my challenge to you. Give yourself 12 minutes, not 12 months, not 12 therapy sessions, just 12 minutes. Find a place with a view, even if it's just a hill in a city park. Stand there, phone away, look out, not in. Let the horizon be bigger than your problems. Let your brain remember what it feels like when the rumination stops. And if you can't get to a mountain, close your eyes. Picture the most majestic peak you can imagine. Breathe in. Feel yourself as solid as that mountain. Breathe out. Feel calm and stable. 12 minutes. Because the science is clear, the mountain you fear is the same mountain that can save you. The cliff edge that makes your knees buckle is the same ridge that can teach your nervous system to rest. You're not broken for being afraid. You're human. And mountains? Mountains have been healing humans for as long as there have been humans. If this video gave you even a fraction of that peace, share it. Send it to someone who needs to hear this. Someone stuck in the noise. Someone who thinks they're too scared, too anxious, too broken. Because the mountain doesn't care if you're perfect. It just wants you to show up. Subscribe if you want more stories of radical transformation. And drop a comment. Tell me, what mountain are you going to climb? I'll see you on the ridge.